Hello, Internet. Welcome to Only Kind of Everything. And if you haven't guessed by the title of the video, I am going to be giving my thoughts on Dynasty Warriors Origins. Now, I will preface this by saying I didn't actually get a chance to finish the game yet. Not that I haven't been enjoying it, but obviously you can tell by the frequency of videos getting uploaded, I haven't had a lot of time to recently. So I think I'm far enough in that I have a solid grasp of the gameplay and how the story and everything is going to play out, at least parts of it. So we'll go right into it. I'm not going to ramble too much about that. As far as this game goes, as somebody who played a lot of the earlier Dynasty Warriors, really enjoyed like Dynasty Warriors 4 and Extreme Legends, the fact that your opening mission starts off with one of my favorite songs in the whole series, Eve. And it's a little bit of a remake version. I would definitely go look it up if you get a chance. That's really cool to me. As far as story goes, you're actually not playing one of the historical heroes as you normally do in your Dynasty Warriors games. You are playing a new insert character. Your very first mission is right before the yellow turban takeoff. You and a long bearded man in green, who, if you know anything about the Dynasty Warriors games, you know that that's Guan Yu. You guys team up, take out some Imperials, and it introduces you to some of your combat, which it's a Dynasty Warriors or Mushu game. And the combat, it actually does feel smooth, even for a Warriors-style game. The combos are... I like that the way they are set up. You do have to unlock some extra ones. You have some skills that you can gain. But as the story progresses, you learn quickly that the character you're playing might not be just some random dude or dudette. I think it's just dude in black. Your character is a bit more important as you find out, where your character gains abilities such as an eagle eye over the battlefield, so you can find, if you're familiar with the Dynasty Warriors stories and how that stuff goes on, in the Yellow Turban Rebellion, the Yellow Turbans use magic to pose a bigger threat. Your character is able to detect where that stuff is coming from and destroy it. And I like the way it's done. It's not just, insert whatever it is, in this case, giant like pot things with incense. They're over this way. You should take care of that. Your character is able to see this stuff, which is a really neat way to combat and add a bit of new flavor to the, unfortunately, the same old story. If you play Dynasty Warriors 9, you'll know that the open world aspect, at least in my opinion, really wasn't well done in that game. It was neat to be able to explore the entire open world in the way that they did in 9, but it was also just very, very empty. This one does an open world, but not. It gives you an overworld map that you explore, and as you're exploring it, you'll get little glowing icons you can go to, which are small, super small skirmishes, like 3 to 4 minute battles. Where, eliminate bandits or, quell Yellow Turban or, whatever. And those are, just quick, get into the action, get the match over, and move on. There are medium-sized battles, which are, they're not your traditional Dynasty Warriors mission. They are bigger than the little micro missions. Take a little bit more time. But they do play a little more similar to what you would expect from your Dynasty Warriors, a little bit larger map. And then your main missions, your story missions, if you will, those missions are what you fully expect with your Dynasty Warriors games. You're lots of characters on the field, hit as many enemies as you can, get that KO count as high as you can, and story progression. The voice acting, I will say, I actually really enjoy. It's the first time in a while I can say I've really enjoyed the voice acting in a Dynasty Warriors game. I think everybody did a phenomenal job in the portrayal of some of these characters. Cao Cao sounds really great. Liu Bei, I actually like the way he sounds. Guan Yu sounds cool too. Very regal. Regal yet powerful is the best way to describe Guan Yu, if that makes sense. Zhang Fei is, as you would expect, he's this kind of like, has that rough and gruff exterior. Something else that is neat with the combat of this game, and I think it's interesting the way they did it, because you're not playing one of the named heroes of the series, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't get to experience all of the weapons throughout the series. Now, as you go along, you have to unlock weapons. You start off with a sword, and then you get a spear and greaves and so forth and so forth. And they each have their own play style. The other thing that is really neat in terms of your gameplay loop is that when you're in these middle to larger battles, you have the ability to lock onto enemies, which is kind of something that's been around for a while, but you're larger. It's not necessarily just, here's a named officer from, the storyline. It's, here's a base general, or, somebody who would be important, but isn't necessarily a named character. They're larger than them, a little bit taller, larger just by wide, but height. They are larger than your normal enemy, and they can do some extra damage. One of the other things that this game brings in, and it ties into these larger enemies, is the special abilities, including one of my favorites is a counter ability. You also have like a dodges and stuff. These large enemies have little shield icons. You counter these enemies, you dodge these enemies correctly, you break these shields, and then you can do massive damage to these guys. That flows into my statement earlier saying the combat is really smooth. As you're doing that, it's not just smack, smack, smack as you would in a traditional Dynasty Warriors game. You time these reversals and these counters correctly. Not only are you hitting these guys, but then you're getting these cool flowed movements of your character moving and dodging. And then when you break these shields, you can trigger special attacks and abilities like you disarm or you automatically KO an enemy, which are also really smooth transitional moves, which it does add some nice flair to the formulaic outplay of a Dynasty Warriors game. One of the other really neat features, though, and I think this is something that has been lacking in most Dynasty Warriors games, is that when you look at these games, and you look at kind of what's being portrayed in these games, these massive battles, is the idea that there's going to be a massive force on the field. They actually account for that in this game. Near the end of some of these larger battles, as you progress through the story, you run into large forces, which is like your main general, like Zhang Jiao. In the yellow turban, I'm going to throw back to that one, where you get there and there is an actual, like, just a huge force of enemies with lots of these big, mid bosses, if you will, and some named characters. Like, it's a big thing. And the way the game structures this is you have to chip away at this force. This entire force has a full health bar. And you have to chip away at this force by defeating these generals and these named characters in order to actually defeat it. You don't just go in and smack away. The normal enemies can get boosts where they'll do special attacks that you have to counter. Otherwise, they're just going to hit you. They're they're not dodgeable attacks. They're not blockable attacks. You have to counter these things with the prompt. And you encounter a lot of those in these larger forces. That is something that I think the Dynasty Warriors game has lacked tremendously over the years, is this representation of, maybe, you're a 1 versus 1,000 mentality of the Warriors genre, but when your one ends up in front of a huge force, your guy is in a position, guy or girl, is in a position where it's like, man, I'm surrounded. Things aren't going well for me. So I do think that is a neat addition. You don't just go in and get to smack these guys. It does add a bit of having to think about how you're attacking. They also have, in previous games, it's always been there, but it's never really been explained or shown to have an impact on battle, the morale of your force and the enemy force. In this game, it does actively explain what it does, and it does tell you the advantages of it. So if your morale is lower to your side, I'm going to start with that side, your team is obviously losing, and the enemy is definitely ripping you guys apart. As you go along, and your character, obviously, because you're going to be the one who swings that tide in favor of your team, your AI, as you progress morale, the AI on your team is not only going to become more aggressive, but more successful in the aggressive maneuvers they're making, taking bases and such. That does pose a small problem on occasion where, like, you're on one side. This actually happened to me in a mission. You're on one side of the map, and one of your important characters, although morale is completely on your side, he's just getting overwhelmed, and you have to go save him or you'll lose the mission. That happened to me. Now, something else I think is neat. If you do happen to lose the mission, there are key points in the mission where it will let you just restart from. So you can go, he was a key point. If I restart the mission here, I can go flip it instead of having to redo the entire fight again, which, again, that's a nice quality of life update that the team put into Dynasty Warriors Origins. Like I said, I haven't beaten the game. I'm not anywhere near as far as I would like to be into the game. But I don't think that the gameplay and such is going to change much more drastically from where I'm at in the game. Obviously, the key point of this story is your character being this keeper of peace, if you will, is the term that's actually used in the game. That your character is going to be kind of on the side of the story to progress it and keep things moving in the correct direction. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the game plays out. But I think I'm at this point, I'm at least far enough in, I can definitely say, like, as far as gameplay goes and the story as far as it is, like I said, I haven't beaten it, and maybe I'll beat the game, I might add a story, end up being garbage. But I do like how they've positioned this character and a way to try and tell the story that if you've played Dynasty Warriors from the, a lot of people picked into like the PS2 with Dynasty Warriors 3 and 4 and stayed with the series throughout, especially if you played anything like the Romance of Three Kingdoms games, again, very similar stories. You kind of know the beats already. You know the Yellow Turban, the rise of Dong Zhou, Lu Bu's betrayal, Sun Jian passing away and Sun Se taking over. You know the beats of the story. So I don't think realistically in terms of like a review, I need to get hyper deep into this game to be able to tell you if the story is good or not, because at the end of the day, the story, although having its own beats with your character, is still going to follow those same path. So, I've rambled long enough. As far as my review overall, graphically, I'm going to say the game, I'm going to say a scale of 5. I'm going to say graphically, I'm not one to super care about graphics. I'm playing on the PS5. I'm going to say the graphics which are probably you're going to hear this a lot in any review I say. Graphics are solid. I would say like a 3 to 4. It's average. It's not unbearable. It's not like a PS2 era or anything. As far as gameplay, it's a Mushu game. I'm going to say it's a 3 to 4 again. Overall, I would say if you're into Mushu Warriors games, you're going to really be into this. If you're not, it is a nice little game. It's not as much of a turn off your brain as you used to be able to back in the day. Like I said, there are some things you have to pay a little bit more attention to. But I would say overall, the game is a solid 3 out of 5. It's not offensive. It is a niche title, so it's not going to float everyone's boat. But I would at least, if you can catch it on sale, or you want to try something different than maybe what you normally play, this is the game you want to try. So guys, that is all I have for this review of Dynasty Warriors Origins. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you've played, let me know what you think. And I will see all of you guys in the next video. Bye!